Hey there, can you introduce yourself for the people?
Hello, this is Titanic Sinclair.
All right, Titanic Sinclair. You and I are in digital space right now. We're speaking across the ether, across the internet webs, but we're going to create a physical place for this video, for this conversation to take place in. I'm going to place an animated version of you in a white room with four white walls surrounding you.
Mm.
What do you see around you? Are there any windows, doors, characters?
Um, well, first of all, it's meticulous, squeaky clean,
Okay,
and I'm surrounded by vintage Commodore 64 computer monitors.
okay.
There's probably, I don't know, 100 or so. There's a lot. It's a really tall room, and they're all stacked, and each one has 336 displayed on it in a different color, and it's blinking. And can the animated version of me just look really bored?
Of course, we can it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's bored with everything that's happening. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Um, Tell me about your first computer experience. Was it the Commodore 64?
I think it was. Um, yeah, I think it was Commodore 64. It was command line, I know that.
Hmm.
Uh, because I specifically remember when Windows came out, like it was actually Windows. Like it was the first like GUI,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
so or the first one that I had, and it was just mind blowing, like using a mouse.
Yeah, to interface. Yeah, that it's pretty. Like my first computer experience was a Performa 575 Mac. It was this fat, ugly machine. Back then, I loved it. I remember, and you look back at these things that kind of inform whatever created what you are today. But
Mm.
I remember there were times when I got my first computer when I was 6. I would go to the back of the machine and I would smell the exhaust that the computer gave off. And
I know that smell.
right. Did you smell your computer too?
I I just this that I've always noticed that that hot technology smell.
Hot tech. Yeah, yeah.
That'd be a great album title.
Yeah, hot smell. Yeah, but I think I ask other people about that, and some of them don't have that experience. And I really think, I mean, it's kind of like a perverted thing. I mean, maybe it's like a techno fetish thing, but like I really do feel like I was the way I interfaced with this computer. Like I didn't really know in the beginning what it was, but I wanted to be so close to it. Did you feel that closeness the first time you interacted with the computer? Like
Oh
what
yeah,
was so what was it like?
definitely. I specifically remember um going on the internet for the first time. I remember my old man, we grew up, pretty poor, but we were able to have some cool stuff like a computer, which was like borrowed or whatever. And I just remember him like sitting me down at the kitchen table, and because that's like I don't know if this is this way in your household, but
Hmm.
I feel like when computers first came into like the PC first came into people's homes, like they would put them in like the kitchen table for some reason.
Yeah.
Like people didn't have like straight like command centers like we do now.
Hmm.
But I remember him explaining it to me and just being like, we can connect with other people through the telephone line. And I remember just kind of, even as a young boy, like, wow, this is gonna very important.
Yeah. So do you remember the? Okay, I would imagine the first time you went on the internet, your dad was present.
Yeah, yeah. And I want to say that I know it wasn't Windows 95 because prior to Windows 95 was when they had the original, I can't remember which operating system it was, but it was before they had the start bar at the bottom
Hmm.
and like the desktop. It was actually not far off from like iOS.
Hmm.
But yeah, and I don't remember what like what we ended up looking for, whatever. Back then, I mean, I guess that would have been 56K, you know, so just one image took 10 minutes to load.
Give me one quick second. I can put myself on Do Not Disturb. I don't know why my shit is ringing. Is someone calling me? That's strange.
I wish there was a way that you could keep and maybe there is, to keep Do Not Disturb like off at all times. You know what I mean?
To keep it off or on?
Or keep it on so people can't keep like that, you don't get the notifications.
Yeah, that was weird. I don't know what the fuck just happened. It must be some spooky techno ghost that was calling me, which I want to ask you about as well. I have been I love ghosts and the concept of ghosts, even though I don't believe in them at all. But I was thinking to myself the other day, there have been enough people that have died since the internet and computers were invented that they have to be able to interface with phones, advanced technologies, and computers and the internet too, right? Like if they were real.
Yeah, internet ghosts. Sure, I could subscribe to that notion.
Because I mean, like if you died, like come on, like you'd be on the internet. Like you wouldn't be walking through the woods only. Like you'd at least want to.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think if I died, the first thing I would do is go on the internet.
Would you want there to be a ghost internet, or would you want to interface with the human internet as a ghost, an internet ghost?
I like where this is going. I'd want to interface with the humans, and that, you know, that opens up the suggestion that maybe that's already happening.
I mean, if it is, I would imagine that. Okay, like to have this discussion, you have to basically come at it from the angle like, are ghosts benevolent? Are most of them angry about the way they died? I mean, the way they're portrayed in movies, usually it's like they're upset. My husband killed me. I fell off a bridge for some fucking reason, and I'm pissed off. And if that's the case, then they're interfering with your text messages and putting up your data, ruining your data limit or something. But if they're actually just chill ghosts, then they're probably just changing the wallpaper on your computer. Like what would you want it to be like if these internet ghosts existed?
I feel like it'd be cool if I mean, if I was an internet ghost, I would want to make internet ghost movies.
Yeah.
Gee, I don't know. I guess it's an interesting thought that I don't know. I'm confused.
No, it's cool. Like you don't have to have an answer for any of this shit. But do you like the concept of scaring people? Like when they consume something that you've created online with your videos, and if you could somehow be a fly on the wall or a ghost, right? That theme, a ghost in their bedroom and watching them watch your videos, and if they were scared, would you feel like, okay, I fulfilled something, like this is what I need right now?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like throughout, you know, every day, for the most part, everyone's day is very boring and very for the amount of information we're all eating like compulsively every day, nonstop.
Yeah,
we're pretty boring like creatures. And so and even like for me, like in LA where everything's kind of, it's like the saturation of everything is just increased, and there's so many crazy people and so just so much of everything that we're all just kind of desensitized. And if you want to, at least when I make a video or when I make something, I kind of hope and I aim for that thing that I'm making to be, when people watch it, maybe it'll be like the strangest moment of their day, or the most exciting moment, or, you know, the scariest moment. You know, the fear, it's fun to play with. Because when you're like directing something, or when you put something out there that just was an idea, and then you decided to create it and then put it out there, and then people watch it. I like the idea of people reacting in a way that they probably hadn't reacted at all at like that day.
Yeah.
You know,
Giving them
that
something
kind of
to do.
bizarre, I guess, space. I don't know. It's hard for me to even describe, but
Right.
I know it. I know it very well, and I mean, a lot of my friends and people who like the stuff that I make, everyone pretty much, you know, they get it. It's like, it's kind of this, there's a feeling to it, and I don't know where else to get that feeling, you know, so I try to put it into movie form, I suppose.
I think I understand. I mean, it's this. You constantly have people trying to make you feel a certain kind of thing when we're consuming content, but it's sort of like our circuits get burnt out. And I think even when there are certain aesthetics that I really have gotten tired with online, specifically stuff where it's like all I can say to describe this is pretty much it's something with like ukulele music and a chorus of people singing, and it's like a guy jumping off a cliff into water, and it's like be the best, right? Do this, do that, and it's supposed to make you feel a good or a challenge or like uplifted or something like that. But it's I guess I must have been burnt out on that shit when I was 7, because I mean it doesn't I don't feel anything from that, and I think your content resides in a place of the internet where people really do want to be challenged, and they want something else. They want to feel something else that they've not felt before, that's really valuable, I think.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, yeah, that kind of thing you're talking about. I know what you're saying. It's like I refer to it as like false sincerity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and the ukulele music is for sure the main culprit. But
like,
you
why ukulele? That's the thing for me. Why ukulele? Why the chorus of like young people's voices? Right? It's not old voices, and it's not opera. It's a very specific age, right?
Yeah.
Why that sound? Why was that attached to it? You know?
I think it's because like the ukulele kind of implies like pretty much anyone can pick one up and learn like 2 chords.
Yeah.
And so there's like an accessibility thing right there where it's like, okay, and it makes you wonder where that like why most people I think it's cute, you know, but it's been so overdone and just but I think the average person, and I think this is to a testament to like, I mean, there are people, I mean, even just on YouTube alone, who get way more like views and, you know, subscribers, followers, likes, comments, blah, 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 blah. And I see a lot of them doing that, you know, like anytime I see someone consciously and unironically say follow, like, and subscribe, it's amazing to me, because I couldn't imagine sincerely doing that.
I've done it in desperate times. You're talking to one right here live on the fucking show. I've said it, and I feel gross every time I say it, and I have to, like, you know how I balance it out? I throw in I'm gonna kill myself right at the end of that after I say it, or at least that's what I'm thinking in my head, and that makes it all right. I just tell myself these things, and this is I'm very conscious of me doing this, and that's kind of like my sense of humor. I'll balance out those disgusting moments where it's like, oh shit, I really do want their attention, and I'm gonna need it if I'm gonna be able to fucking pay my rent. So I have to say this shit, but I really don't want to fucking say it.
I know what you mean. It's a necessary evil.
But that too is an aesthetic, and that's the crazy part. Like me not me not wanting to do it and saying that I want to kill myself for saying this is also a product in itself, which is,
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're kind of getting into Warhol territory. I recall you saying in a video that he was your favorite artist. I mean, is that true? Or I know that word it's a big word, like favorite artist, you know, but
Yeah. I think he did a very very hard thing and made it look very easy. And he's definitely one of my biggest influences, like absolutely.
yeah,
He was able to make, I mean, the obvious one is the Campbell soup can. It was just a can, and it was just a painting, or, not rocket science.
yeah,
And he managed to really make people, like, he was a troll.
yeah,
Like, I
yeah,
think he was a troll. But there's a certain, like, when you say troll, or like if someone's like, oh, I make videos, and they're weird and goofy or silly or whatever, and it's just to get a reaction. Even if the impulse or the motivation behind that is like lighthearted or funny, I think that still can result in some very strong art. And part of me thinks maybe that's what was going on with Warhol, is he was funny enough to be like, okay, I'm literally just gonna like make a Brillo box, and it looks exactly like the one at the store, but we're making them ourselves. Or I'm just going to paint a Campbell soup can, this thing that a million people have seen, they see it every day,
yeah.
and that's going to be my art. And I'm sure that idea probably, was like a 2-second idea, and he was just like, yeah, I'll do it. And then, but within that is this very kind of interesting gray area where it's like, okay, maybe it was a joke, maybe obviously there's talent behind it, but you kind of get into this zone where it's like, oh, well, it's really good though. And now, anyone who sees it, so many people shit on Warhol, and understandably, but I'd put $1,000 on, take 10 people off the street, show them a Warhol, and show them a I don't know, a Rothko, and they'll probably know who did the Warhol,
Yeah, I mean, because it was definitely recognizable stuff, and again, I don't know if this stuff was conscious. I mean, it probably was. Like, I've done my research on him, watched a lot of interviews and stuff. I mean, this probably was conscious, but like using that icon, and it was an icon, like the soup, the thing you drink, the thing your mom gives you when you're sick, the thing you eat with grilled cheese, that thing, and putting it on a wall is different from the Rothko, like the red bleeding into the other shit.
Yeah, totally.
And that's not what your mom fed you. That's not that's something that he made up.
Yeah.
But people don't connect with it on that level. But people do. People have reported sitting in front of Rothko's and crying. I don't see it. I think that says more about the person. I'm not saying this in a negative way. I think it triggers some things in some people's minds where it's just like, I think if you get anyone to sit by themselves for 20 minutes and look at a wall.
Yeah, especially one of his paintings.
Right.
Squares.
I think it's just the fact that people will sit still and not check their phone that's causing them to freak out. You know what I'm saying? I think maybe the paintings as a catalyst for that. But what do you think talent is? What does it mean to you? Like, don't worry about it being correct, but like just specifically for you, when you think about that word, what does it mean?
I think it's a reflection of practice. Typically, I mean, sure, there's natural talent. Some people are born with very athletic bodies, and they can run faster than a car, or whatever. But yeah, I think talent is just a reflection of hard work and just diligence and lots and lots and lots of practice.
Yeah. That's something that people, I think, don't want to hear, even though it's said a trillion times. But I also agree with you. I do a lot of sketches, and I think sketches is well, everyone does sketches. I mean, musicians do it when they're just jamming or whatever. Where do you do you have video sketches? Do you have a folder where you just like put out ideas? Because your work to me is very polished, and it looks like every corner of the screen and the things you write in the descriptions. It seems like everything is very deliberately looked over, even if it looks like it's careless sometimes. I know all of that is composed by you, but where do you have any places where you put stuff where you're just kind of throwing stuff at the wall and trying to figure things out or doing sketches?
I mean, part of me feels like every video I do is like that sketch of where I'm at right now. I feel like my body of work at this point, it's a constantly evolving sketch. I mean, to answer your question more directly, I take notes constantly, and I'm not one of these people who's like, oh, it has to be a Moleskine notebook,
I have one in my lap right now, by the way. So fuck
and I
you.
love
No,
it.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
I mean, it's great, but it's kind of like whatever the medium for getting the idea down. My voice memos on my phone are like, there are thousands of them. But yeah, just whatever is around that will help wherever these the ideas come from, just to record them in some way. And I mean, some videos have come out of just an idea that happens, and I just talk it into my phone, and then word for word that, I mean, it's already done, and then we'll shoot that.
Yeah. I noticed I have to ask you about the sounds in your videos. They appear to me to be delayed by like half a second. Now, is this something that when did you sort of, I mean, is that true? First off, I mean, am I right?
Sometimes they are.
Okay, so when did you deliberately learn that this was something that you were gonna do? Do you remember that?
Yeah,
I know this is a very vague question. I just want to know more about that, the audio delay specifically. How'd you come up with it? When do you feel it's right to use it? That sort of thing.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the uncanny valley idea?
Yeah, but please say it again. Someone might not know that.
So I've heard it described with artificial intelligence and CG, for example. In movies, if there is a or robotics as well. Any time that there is something that is very human-like, but not quite human enough to trick us into believing that it's an actual an equal, if that makes sense.
Right,
I don't know if I butchered that, but I feel like with the audio thing, that is just an extension of this kind of idea of the uncanny valley. It's really kind of a hypnotism practice, because I think most people have an idea of how microphones work, and most people have an idea generally how acoustics work. If you're in a big empty room and you clap, it's probably going to reverberate.
Yeah.
If you're in a tiny room that's full of the full of carpet and there's carpet on the walls and you clap, it's probably going to be dead. So when you kind of blur the lines of reality a little bit and pay very, very, very close and sometimes not close enough attention when producing something, it can really disorient the viewer. And I really like that because it's I've seen some people do it, but it's not executed very well, in my opinion, a lot of the time. If that makes sense. Sorry.
It does, really. No, honestly, I'm sitting here thinking about it. I mean, that's a good answer. How much do you look forward to seeing Android in real life and talking to a complete AI that looks and feels and sounds like a human? Because I think about this all the time, and I'm obsessed with it.
I already know one.
Okay. All right.
And it's great.
Who is this android?
She's a very human-like being who one day approached me, and I decided to document her.
Right. I mean, we got to talk. We got to finish this thing off by talking about this person. I believe she's a woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Poppy.
I haven't seen the full all of the body parts, but I believe they are a woman.
Okay. Like, all right. Do you think this android passes the Turing test?
Oh, absolutely. And that the fun part about it is presenting her to the world in a way that is done with a bit of a artistic, almost in that Warhol thing we were talking about. It's fun watching people figure it out, and kind of the way we release the videos. I'm trying to get it to a point where it's every day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Ooh. Good luck, man.
Thank you. Yeah, it's almost there. It's just a matter of figuring out the system in which to distribute that kind, or produce and distribute that kind of a load of work. Because I mean, you see vloggers and people do it all the time, but that, I mean, and my hat goes off to those people. But I think we're gonna look back at this whole vlogging thing, and the takeaway will be that people want to see the thing that they like to see every day. And it just so happens, and it makes sense that like vlogging would be the medium in which that this was discovered. But I think just the bottom line is most people are not interesting enough to watch every day. And that's why you see a lot of these people who are like really big on YouTube, and then they have a good run and that's it.
Yeah.
With the work that I do, it's been like reverse engineered, where it's not that it's never ending, but you can always ask questions. And by getting the viewer to ask questions or experience things that may be a little uncomfortable, you're really able to kind of keep the attention, if that makes any sense.
I think so. You're thinking, how far ahead are you thinking with the project?
Very far.
Past death?
Oh, I mean, death is the only reason I make content.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm only here for, I mean, who knows how long I'm here for, but I mean, this interview will be around forever, way after I'm dead.
I mean, I don't know about forever, man. I mean, like, there might be some alien, I mean, or some fucking stupid future human 200 years from now that has a terminal that can play this. But I think at some point, look, man, the reality is, if a human or whatever we're gonna become from 300 years ago came back to now, it would feel to us the way we would, the way a caveman would if we went back and looked at them and they saw us walking around with these flashing screens that like displayed information and I mean it's ridiculous. So
can you imagine? Jeez.
Right. I mean, based on that, I can only imagine that a human from 300 years from now would look something like, I mean, like a glass of water that like vibrate and like images come out of it. Like, it's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean,
hey, anything's possible.
Yeah. But I mean, definitely, if I do think about the death thing, it is really a driving force for everything we create. I mean, look at sports. I mean, like, we're running from things, we hit things, we scream at things collectively. I think if we were immortal, I think that would kill a lot of our creative drive.
That's a very good point. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I don't know why we would make things.
Yeah. There's almost like it's not so, I don't look at it as like a clock or a countdown, but I do notice that the better I get at things, the more I notice how little time there is. And I'm definitely absolutely. I'm aware to almost the point of insanity, with with how critical I am, and I think that's why when like you were saying earlier about like it seems like the whole page is at like every little sentence, the sidebar, and just everything's like thought about, and it's because it is. And I don't understand why anyone would make something that is not thought of in that way.
I think all creative people obviously have different ways of taking things on. I think for me, I often feel like when I make something, it's my job just kind of to get it out. And sometimes, like, basically, I'm gonna swing at this object in front of me and hit it about 100 times, and I might get it right like 6, but I'm not gonna. But some people are way more calculated, and if we're using the fighting analogy, they're gonna stare at that thing and hit it maybe a good 10 times, and they're gonna get it probably good like 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
But like I think the way I work, I need to make a lot of short, quick punches. I can't sit there and do like, I was looking at a Christopher Nolan interview the other day when he was talking about Inception and how that was made, and the dude had been writing this fucking thing for like 10 years or something. Like, that is absurd. I cannot do that.
Yeah, that's completely absurd. Yeah, I mean, maybe one day I'll get to that point, but what you were just saying kind of reminds me of I think it's called the Stone Cutter. Wasn't
that an episode from The Simpsons, the Stone Cutters?
Oh, Simpsons.
Yeah, Simpsons did it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's something along the lines of you can take a rock and hit another rock 99 times and nothing will happen. But on that 100th hit, it'll crack open, or maybe 200th, or 900. But it'll crack open, and it doesn't crack open because of that last hit that cracked it. It cracked open because of every single attempt previous. And that's how I view a lot of things in my life, certainly my career. It's very when you make things and you put them out there, it can be it's a struggle when, especially you're first starting out and you make this thing that you think is awesome.
Yeah.
No one sees it. But you keep chipping away at that rock, and just keep on hitting it over and over and over again, and it's, most people give up,
because it is a tedious experience, and that's the problem. Is I don't know. Okay, this might be back to that ukulele shit, because stuff is always trying to be sold to us. Someone's always trying to sell you on some shit. Even, again, back to the sports analogy, everyone wants to be Jordan, and that's what we're sold, is the concept of Jordan, and not some kid who wakes up at 5 a.m. and has to shoot jump shots and run 10 miles a day. Or, like, look at a painter. I mean, it's tedious, and it's boring as shit for the vast majority of the time. Like, the thing I'm chasing, the feeling I'm chasing when I make something is, like, when I get an idea, going like that exact moment, and then all the, like, fuck all the boring stuff of me trying to make it, but in that last moment when I actually make it, and I can say to myself, oh man, I did the thing that I said I was gonna do.
Right.
That's a feeling that I really crave and I love, but it's hard to sell that, isn't it? It's hard to sell that this is boring as shit and you're gonna hate most of what you do. And it's a job. It's you hitting that stone, that is a good analogy. It's boring as shit most of the time.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I read somewhere, or I heard somewhere through the grapevine. I think it was someone I know personally. Anyway, they were telling me that Taylor Swift, like, knows, like, HTML and, like, knows, like, CSS code, and, like, when she was just, like, starting off and whatever, she was moderating all of her, like, websites, and I 100% believe it. Maybe that's complete bullshit, and I can't remember the source of who told me this or where I saw this, but I don't doubt that for a second. And that's boring. Like, that's boring. It's not, she's at this level now where she's as big as you can get.
Yeah.
And the only way I think you can get there, if that's something that you strive for, is to be not only the best, like, performer. I don't think she is, but I think she strives for it. And part of that is just being the best at every single thing that you do. And if you don't have a web person or know a web person, okay, I guess I'll learn code. You know?
Right.
That's how I was. I was always very fearful of After Effects. And one day I was just like, okay, well, what's that old saying? The best time to learn something is 10 years ago. The second best time is right now.
Yeah.
And that's all there is to it. It's like, all right, well, I want to get good at this, so I guess I'm going to have to get good at it. I can't just buy the Jordans and be Michael Jordan.
Right. People we have a tool obsession. I hear it all the time from people. I mean, like, I'm sure you get this a lot. The questions about what you use and
what camera you use.
My phone. Who gives a shit? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, seriously.
It really does. Because the reality, and I say this a lot too, and I think people don't hear it somehow because it's not a sexy answer, but you could give James Jean a number 2 shitty Bic pen that you got from your, like, a doctor's office, and he's gonna crank out. It's about the person,
Yeah.
It's whatever's in between your ears. It's all that shit that makes something good.
Yeah. That doesn't sell shoes though.
Right. Oh man. God damn it. Yeah. All right, dude. It's been really good talking to you, man.
You as well,
dude. Thanks. Please tell
let me
people.
know.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Let me know if you need anything else. And you said you're going to Japan?
I'm going tomorrow, dude. At noon. I'm going to Tokyo.
Awesome. Have you been?
Yeah, I've been there twice. This is my third time.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I just spent a month there last month.
Right, I saw that. I was watching your Instagram creeping. What was it like, man?
It was the best. I mean, it's the coolest. It's the coolest place I've ever been, you know?
Yeah.
It's what New York should be.
You
know, like I was telling friends and who had never been there while I was there, they're like, "What's your first impression?" Because that was my first trip to Asia. And I explained to someone, Tokyo is like if you were to empty out New York City and let like Disneyland take over. You know what I mean? Like it's so clean.
I do.
Oh, it's just so cool. Yeah.
Sorry,
what's that?
It kind of gives me a little bit of anxiety, and I'll admit that to you. It's a weird place. I feel like I'm always silently being judged.
Oh, for sure.
Okay,
all
right.
God.
So it's not like it's like it's not crippling or anything, but I always feel like, I mean, you'll be sitting there on the train and you almost forget that you're not one of them. But then you.
Oh yeah.
But then
isn't it weird when like it's weird when you see another American too?
Yeah.
It almost bums me out. I'm like, what are you doing in my fantasy?
Yeah. Please tell people where they can find you.
You can find all of my social media by Googling Titanic Sinclair. I think the best place to get a vibe of the stuff that I make is probably on youtube.com/poppy. That's like that's the big one right now.
Yeah.
And you know, Instagram, blah blah blah. It's all just Titanic Sinclair. But hopefully there's something on there that the listeners here will enjoy.
Absolutely. Dude, it's been a pleasure talking to you, man.
Hey, you as well. Anytime.
Look like a valley.